King George V and Queen Mary were out walking in the country one day, and the Queen grew tired, and she noticed that there was this old cottage there in the lane. And she said to the king, she said, why don't we knock here and see if the people wouldn't mind us coming in and sitting down for a little while. So the king agreed. They knocked on the door. A little old lady came to the door, and she took one look, the king and the queen, and she went straight indoors without letting them in. She went straight indoors, and she said, William was her husband. William, she said, the king and queen are at the door. What shall I do? William said, well, let them in, he said. And she went to the door and let them in. They sat down in the spotless little parlour of the cottage, and I imagine they gave them a cup of tea and everything. And after a little while, the king looked over and he noticed that there was a family Bible in a prominent position in the room. And he said, I'm pleased to see you've got the good book there in a prominent position in the room, he said. And William said, oh, aye, sir, he said, would you like to hear of my conversion? And the king said, oh, yes, please. And so William told of his conversion in joyful and enthusiastic tones. And the king appreciated it, and the queen listened. They were rapt attention listening to William. And at the end of it, the queen, with a tear in her eye, looked at the old lady and said, have you had a similar experience? And the old lady said, oh, yes, ma'am, she said, would you like to hear my story? And the queen said, yes, please. And she told her story in that lovely little parlour many years ago. And the king and queen stood up, much affected by the two stories. And as they walked to the door, the queen stopped with a tear in her eye. She looked over her shoulder and she said, we love him too, you know. One glimpse of Jesus, and you love him forever. Amen.